Let's not sugarcoat it. Buckingham Palace just dropped a royal bombshell, and the fallout is shaking every corner of the monarchy. The latest twist? A palace-backed demand for DNA tests on Meghan Markle and Prince Harry's kids, Archie and Lilibet. Yeah, you heard that right. This isn't some fringe conspiracy cooked up on social media. We're talking about a formal request, allegedly coming straight from within the royal circle, aimed at settling one deeply controversial question. Are the Sussex children really their biological offspring?
I will say that, like a lot of people, I saw the Getty images of the pillow dropping behind the skirt, and I thought at first they could be photoshopped, but Getty Images is very reliable.
Now, rewind to when Meghan first announced her pregnancy. It was all sunshine and photo ops, public appearances in fitted gowns, glowing interviews, and an image of royal bliss. But beneath the surface, skeptics were whispering. People were side-eyeing her baby bump, pointing out inconsistencies. One day it looked tiny, the next it seemed enormous. There were awkward moments caught on video, like the infamous footage of her belly apparently shifting as she squatted in heels, something most pregnant women wouldn't even attempt. At the time, these rumors were brushed off as offensive or absurd, but they never truly disappeared. And now, they've snowballed into full-blown palace-level scrutiny. Why? Because according to insiders, there's not a single official record confirming Meghan gave birth in a hospital under her name. No signed statement from royal physicians. No documented delivery procedure. That's more than just a clerical oversight. It's suspicious. What's even more damning is that royal births are usually cataloged to the last detail. We've seen hospital press conferences, official photos on the steps, statements from doctors. With Meghan, nothing. A total information blackout. And the royal family doesn't just forget to document stuff like this. That's why palace aides reportedly went back through every frame of footage, every article, every timeline. And what they found, or didn't find, sent shockwaves through the crown. But that's just the beginning. My name is Lola. So what's really pushing the palace to this point? Insiders say it wasn't just one red flag. It was a mountain of inconsistencies that couldn't be ignored anymore. We're talking about mismatched dates, missing medical records, and a strange absence of the usual royal protocols. When the palace revisited the timeline of Meghan's pregnancy, everything seemed off. From public appearances to private schedules, things didn't align like they were supposed to. One major red flag: the lack of any official confirmation from the hospital where Meghan supposedly gave birth. Normally, royal births involve very public fanfare. Hospital wings are blocked off, media gathers outside, and doctors provide a signed statement. But with Meghan, there was nothing but radio silence. And that silence is now being interpreted by some within the palace as a smokescreen for something deeper. Let's be clear, using a surrogate isn't the scandal here. Plenty of women choose that path for valid reasons. The controversy lies in the alleged cover-up. If Meghan and Harry had just come forward and said they were using a surrogate, the world might have accepted it. But building an entire narrative around a pregnancy that might not have happened, that's where the accusations of deception and manipulation come in. And it gets worse. Sources claim the palace may have quietly obtained confidential documents that suggest Meghan was never admitted to any maternity wing under her legal name. No official check-in, no delivery team assigned, not even a private suite that could have been billed under a pseudonym. Just nothing. A complete paper trail blackout. What really lit the fuse, though, was the resurfacing of those now viral videos. You know, the ones where Meghan's bump appears to fold or collapse while she sits down. Social media turned those clips into viral memes, but behind the scenes, royal aides were reportedly watching them with growing concern. And what they saw pushed them to act. But there's even more that's got the palace panicking. Within the palace walls, emotions are reportedly running high. King Charles, who's only just solidified his reign, is now facing a crisis that hits at the very heart of royal legitimacy. It's one thing to deal with PR disasters, scandals, rebellious royals, even divorces, but questioning the authenticity of the royal bloodline. That's next-level damage. According to sources, King Charles is devastated, not just because of what the allegations imply about his grandchildren, but because of the potential fallout it could cause for the monarchy's reputation. Remember, the crown isn't just about pomp and circumstance, it's about continuity, tradition, and bloodlines. If Archie and Lilibet's parentage is in question, then so is their place in the line of succession. Prince William, meanwhile, is said to be outright furious. Not only is he dealing with the burden of modernizing the monarchy alongside Catherine, but now he's got this storm brewing in the background. One that was entirely avoidable if, as some insiders believe, Harry and Meghan had just told the truth from the beginning. William reportedly sees the situation as a disgrace, not only because of the scandal itself, but because it further divides an already fractured family. Then there's Princess and the no-nonsense royal who's never been one for drama. Word is she's fuming behind closed doors, allegedly calling the situation an embarrassment that weakens the institution's credibility. To her, this isn't just a family squabble, it's an existential threat. And don't forget the staff. Former aides, royal courtiers, and even retired palace officials are beginning to talk. They're leaking details, expressing frustration, and demanding transparency. Some of them are reportedly urging the palace to release a formal statement demanding DNA verification, not just to settle public doubts, but to protect the future of the monarchy from lingering shadows. But what's Meghan and Harry's response to all this pressure? In the face of rising pressure, Meghan and Harry have chosen silence, and that silence is speaking volumes. What was once seen as dignified restraint is now being interpreted as strategic evasion. The longer they go without addressing the DNA rumors, the more the public suspects there's something to hide. Royal commentators and former supporters alike are no longer holding back. Major media outlets have begun dissecting the timeline of Meghan's pregnancies, highlighting every suspicious detail. Late-stage pregnancy in stilettos, squatting without discomfort, a bump that changed shape and size across appearances. It's all back under the microscope. But let's talk about the core issue here: trust. Meghan and Harry built a brand on authenticity, vulnerability, and challenging the system. Their bombshell Oprah interview painted them as victims of a ruthless institution. Their docuseries doubled down on that narrative. But if it turns out they weren't entirely honest about something as fundamental as childbirth, that brand begins to crack. Even longtime allies are starting to distance themselves. Sources claim Oprah Winfrey herself is reportedly rethinking her association with the couple, especially if it's revealed that details were withheld during that now infamous interview. Netflix is allegedly growing frustrated too. The platform invested millions in a story built on personal truth. If that truth turns out to be shaky, the value of that investment plummets. Still, Meghan and Harry seem to be betting on the storm blowing over. But that's not happening. In fact, the pressure is only intensifying. The palace isn't backing down. Social media isn't letting up. And now, even members of parliament are beginning to whisper about the constitutional implications of this drama. Which brings us to the most explosive part of this entire ordeal. This isn't just a juicy tabloid scandal anymore. It's becoming a legal and constitutional crisis. If the DNA of Archie and Lilibet doesn't confirm both Meghan and Harry as the biological parents, the implications go far beyond a PR nightmare. It challenges the line of succession, the integrity of royal titles, and even the legality of the children's positions within the monarchy. The British Constitution is a living document shaped by centuries of tradition and interpretation. But when it comes to the royal bloodline, there are rules that are non-negotiable. Titles like Prince and Princess aren't just cute formalities, they come with historical weight and constitutional significance. If there's even a hint that the legitimacy of those titles was based on misinformation, the fallout could be enormous. Legal scholars are starting to weigh in, suggesting that if deception is proven, it could spark a full parliamentary review. Some members of the House of Lords are allegedly preparing questions for the Prime Minister regarding the implications of the controversy. It may sound dramatic, but the monarchy is a government institution. When its protocols are questioned, the legal system gets involved. And here's where things get messy, eh? Meghan and Harry have set up shop in the United States, which puts this entire scandal in a strange legal gray zone. If a surrogate was used, and if that surrogate is American, there are questions about international legal rights, birth certificates, and citizenship that could further complicate things. The palace is keenly aware of these dangers. That's why they're not just asking for DNA tests, they're pushing for a complete review of birth records, hospital documentation, and every piece of verifiable information that could solidify or unravel the story. But let's not forget, the public plays a huge role in how this unfolds next. Public opinion is the royal family's lifeblood, and right now, that lifeblood is turning toxic. When Meghan and Harry first stepped back from royal duties, they had the public's sympathy. Many saw them as modernizers unfairly trapped by an outdated institution. But fast forward to today, and that narrative is unraveling in real time. Social media, which once championed the Sussexes, is now flooded with viral videos, memes, and side-by-side comparisons that question the authenticity of Meghan's pregnancies. Reddit threads are filled with investigative timelines. TikToks break down every questionable photo. Twitter is ablaze with theories. And the palace? They're watching it all unfold, and they're not amused. But it's not just the online mobs causing trouble. Even mainstream audiences are beginning to shift their stance. Polls show a noticeable drop in support for Meghan and Harry in both the UK and the US. And for a couple whose brand relies on public appeal, that's a major problem. In fact, PR experts are now warning that the couple's silence may be more damaging than the rumors themselves. The longer they avoid confronting the issue, the more people assume they're hiding something. Some say Meghan and Harry have backed themselves into a corner. If they speak, they confirm the scandal. If they stay silent, they look guilty. Meanwhile, pressure from donors, publishers, and streaming partners is rumored to be mounting. Deals are reportedly being reconsidered. Financial backers are asking tough questions. And once friendly allies in Hollywood are said to be distancing themselves just in case things get worse. And here's where things go from dramatic to downright nuclear. Behind the scenes, the monarchy is preparing for what could be its most aggressive move in decades. According to multiple royal insiders, King Charles has had enough of the ambiguity. While he's tried to keep things behind closed doors, the institution can't afford the silence any longer. If Meghan and Harry won't voluntarily submit to a DNA test, the palace may go public with its own evidence, or lack thereof. We're talking about the potential removal of titles, public disowning, and a formal clarification about who is and who isn't part of the line of succession. This isn't just symbolic. It could have real legal and financial consequences for Meghan and Harry's children. Without verified lineage, the palace could argue there's no rightful claim to the royal heritage, which includes everything from official titles to security and future entitlements. That kind of public blow would be historic and brutal. But palace officials reportedly see it as necessary. They've been burned too many times by scandals in the past to let this one quietly simmer forever. If they don't act, they risk undermining their own rules, and worse, letting public perception run wild. Already, there are whispers that paperwork is being prepared. Not just DNA requests, but documentation to formally distance the Sussex children from future royal responsibilities unless clarification is given. The message from the firm is clear. No proof, no position. This isn't just a feud anymore. It's a full-on royal audit. And with the monarchy now holding all the cards, it's only a matter of time before the next major move drops. So what does this mean for Meghan and Harry's future? If this scandal plays out the way insiders fear, Meghan and Harry could be looking at a total collapse of their public brand. Their entire narrative, one built on breaking free from royal constraints, challenging tradition, and living their truth, could be exposed as a carefully constructed illusion. It's not just about losing support from fans. It's about losing the trust of those who've invested millions into their brand. From their Spotify deal that already fell apart to their high-stakes Netflix projects. Every business partnership they've touched is suddenly under review. Without credibility, their commercial appeal vanishes. And let's not ignore the cultural significance. For many, Meghan represented a new chapter for the monarchy, a symbol of progress, inclusion, and change. If that symbol turns out to be based on a misrepresented story, the backlash won't just be personal, it'll be symbolic. Supporters who saw her as a modern-day trailblazer may feel betrayed. Harry's reputation is also taking hits. Once beloved as the people's prince, his decision to back Meghan in every battle has been both his strength and potential undoing. If it turns out he knowingly helped construct or protect a misleading narrative, the damage to his legacy could be permanent. He may no longer be seen as a rebel with a cause, but rather as a prince who willingly walked away from everything, only to sell a story that wasn't entirely true. And with every passing day of silence, that story becomes harder to rewrite. But even if they came clean, would it be enough to fix the damage? At this point, even a confession wouldn't come without major fallout. If Meghan and Harry stepped forward and admitted to using a surrogate, or worse, admitted to orchestrating a cover-up, the royal family might still choose to cut ties completely. Honesty could soften the blow, but it wouldn't erase the perception of betrayal. That said, a strategic confession might be their only shot at salvaging any piece of their reputation. Coming clean, showing vulnerability, and explaining their reasons, whether it was privacy, fear of judgment, or pressure from the media, could generate some public empathy. People appreciate honesty, especially when it comes with accountability. But the timing is critical. The longer they delay, the less forgiveness they're likely to receive. Once the palace goes public with demands or documentation, any admission will look like damage control, not sincerity. There's also the question of the children. Whatever Meghan and Harry decide to do, they'll need to consider how their actions will affect Archie and Lilibet in the years to come. A clean record, even one that includes a surrogate, is far better than growing up under the weight of rumors, investigations, and lost titles. And let's be real, if Meghan and Harry have nothing to hide, a DNA test should be a non-issue. The longer they avoid it, the more the conspiracy theories gain traction. By choosing silence, they're letting the narrative be written without them. So what happens next? That's the million-dollar question. What happens next could redefine everything, not just for Meghan and Harry, but for the future of the royal family itself. This isn't just another media storm. It's a high-stakes showdown between tradition and modernity, legacy and reinvention, truth and image. The palace is poised for action. Insiders say King Charles has already greenlit contingency plans, depending on how this plays out. If Meghan and Harry refuse the DNA test, a formal statement could be issued revoking any royal affiliations for their children. That would send a clear message. The monarchy protects its image at all costs. And what about Harry? His loyalty to Meghan has always been unwavering. But if this crisis deepens, he may face a brutal choice: protect the narrative or protect what's left of his royal heritage. It's a lose-lose scenario and the clock is ticking. For Meghan, the stakes are even higher. Her brand, her reputation, and her entire identity in the public eye hinge on how she handles the next move. She's gone from actress to duchess to global icon. But now, she could end up being remembered as the woman who nearly took down the crown, or as someone who had the chance to come clean and chose not to. One thing is certain, the world is watching. And the truth, whatever it may be, is no longer something that can be hidden behind palace gates or perfectly curated photo ops. It's going to come out one way or another. So buckle up, folks. The next royal chapter is about to be written, and this one might change everything. As this saga unfolds, one key question keeps echoing across headlines and living rooms alike. How did it get this far without anyone stepping in? Critics argue the palace waited too long to act, letting rumors fester and giving Meghan and Harry the space to build an unchallenged narrative. Meanwhile, supporters of the couple claim the royal family's silence was complicity, that they knew more than they let on. But in truth, the answer likely lies somewhere in between. The royal institution has always played the long game, favoring subtlety over confrontation. But even the most stoic traditions have breaking points. And when bloodlines and public trust are on the line, even the most reserved monarch has to draw the line. Observers say we're witnessing a turning point for royalty in the modern age, where social media, media contracts, and global scrutiny make it impossible to hide behind gilded gates. Every move is watched, every narrative is questioned, and no amount of royal mystique can shield a story that doesn't add up. The road ahead won't be easy for Meghan and Harry. Whether they choose transparency, defiance, or something in between, the consequences will follow them for years. Their legacy, their children's future, and their standing in both Hollywood and royal history hang in the balance. So as the palace prepares to make its next move and the world holds its breath, one thing is clear: this royal drama is far from over. In fact, it may be just getting started.